Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, interesting stuff in the economic world. I know a lot of you guys get turned off by me talking about finances, but I'm going to talk about them anyway because it's important that we know what's going on because it affects all of us. If you've looked at the foreign currency markets today, okay, and again, we talk about a strengthening dollar, a weakening dollar all the time. And the dollar index right now is about 105. It's up a little bit from a couple of months ago, but it's been holding steady in that 101 to 105 range. We're at the top of that range right now. And again, you remember what I tell you the dollar is. When you hear about a stronger dollar or whatever, it's not based on how many dollars we have, it's based on the value of the dollar versus a basket of world currencies. So we got to look at the world currencies, which make it interesting. So let's start with Japan. Japan's in trouble. Their dollar, or their yen, if you will, is now at the weakest it's been since 1990. Think about that. Okay. Think about where you were in 1990. Think about what you could buy with how many dollars in 1990. That's how weak the yen is right now. Now, as I've told you guys many times, there are pros and cons to a weak currency. And I'll get into that in a second so you know how it affects you. But the yen, which is one of the six currencies that the US dollar is valued against, is at its weakest point in 34 years. But then let's look at China. And this one gets big. Now you think about our biggest trade partners, Japan and China, basically there. China's in trouble. The yuan is to the point where they are considering devaluing the currency. And if you want to know what devaluing is, go read up a little bit on like Russia devaluing the currency. I've told you the stories about Mrs. P going through that before, where you wake up one morning and they say, in this case, the yuan is now worth X percentage of what it was before. So let's say we do what Russia did, back 10 years ago or whatever, and they devalued the currency by 50%. Okay, well, now you had 1 ruble is now worth a half a ruble. Okay, and it winds up a big deal. Now, if you're a debtor, it's not that big of a deal because now you get twice as many dollars, yen, yuan, rubles, whatever, because they've got to pay you the same. But your debt, what you already have contracted, you still owe the same. The goods and services in the store, obviously the price double. Okay. Mrs. P had the problem with her apartment, if you will, when they devalued the ruble. The value of her apartment went from 200,000 rubles to 100, or 200, the equivalent of $200,000 to $100,000. That wasn't a real good thing for the assets that she held. Now, we all know the economic straits the United States is in. Now, if China devalues the yuan, if the value of the yen gets devalued just by market forces, let's talk about the pros and cons to the dollar getting stronger, which it is. And there are good things about it and bad things. Let's take a look at this one. If you go overseas, if you've got to take a trip to China or Japan, like so many of us are thinking about vacations right now, you're going to be able to buy more currency with your US dollar. Therefore, it's going to make your trip more affordable. Okay? How many of us have a planned trip to Tokyo anytime soon? Probably none of us. Okay. A benefit, the cost of imported goods. Okay, let's say all the stuff we buy at Walmart, which is all from China. Let's say anything in regards to our electronics, which comes from either China, Korea, or Japan, okay, gets cheaper. Cars, your Hondas, your Toyotas, your Kias, well, not Kia, Kia's Korean, but your Hondas, your Toyotas, whatever, the cost is going to come down. That may be beneficial, okay? I mean, as we, the United States, benefits from a stronger economy, it makes our exports more competitive in the global market. Those are the good things. Now you want to look at the bad things. Foreign tourists coming here, which we do get a lot, especially from China, okay, spend a lot of money in New York especially, find that their currency now buys less than before, making travel to the United States less attractive, more expensive. Now, you could say whatever you want about the immigration problem we have right now. They're not coming here with money going, hey, will you trade my pesos or my bolivar or my rupees or whatever for dollars? They don't have any money. That's why they're coming here in the first place. And any money they had, they paid to coyotes and owe them more. So they're coming in broke. So no, that's not going to help. It's not going to chase away illegal immigration. It's actually going to exacerbate it. We're going to get more because as their currencies around the rest of the world get weaker and ours get stronger, they want more of our dollars to send back home. Okay? Think about that. A strong dollar makes it a lot more difficult for U.S. companies to compete in the global market because now what we make here, not that there's much left, okay, gets more expensive on the global market. So this will be detrimental for companies making money because if they start losing that global market share to China, Japan, whatever, well, we don't need as many employees anymore. We can't afford to pay everybody. So a stronger dollar leads to job cuts. Okay? This is what I talk about all the time about thinking past the tip of your nose. You hear, they say, oh, everything's good. A stronger dollar is good. Let me explain to you some of the problems with it too. Okay? Here's a real problem we have. A strong dollar can also lead to a trade deficit. All right? As we start importing more goods, even more goods than we export. So which means we become more and more reliant on other countries based on cost, okay? Not only based on the fact that we don't make much here anymore, but now we're winding up importing a lot more stuff. Let's talk about food, okay? And I'll give you the example of avocados that I've talked to many times. The avocados we grow in California, we export to Mexico. The avocados that most of us eat around the country are imported from Mexico. Doesn't make any sense to me either, trust me. But there's more profit for the avocado growers to sell them to Mexico, and it's cheaper for us to buy the Mexican avocados than just use our own. Okay, this is kind of how global finance works. Currency exchange. And I've said to you guys many times, Americans are the ones that are really clueless about currency exchanges. Most of us don't pay any attention to it. We figure, okay, everybody's trying to buy dollars. That's a good thing. And again, I've told you about Mrs. P and being in Russia, and the people there would go to the bank multiple times a week and exchange their rubles for dollars, exchange their dollars for euros, exchange their euros back to rubles, and whatever they needed to be to protect their wealth. Okay. So what's going on in China right now? With them considering devaluing the yuan, the Chinese are trying to protect their money like crazy. They're on a gold buying frenzy in China right now because they don't want to have their money all of a sudden worth half of what it was before. Think about this. Any of the cash you have in a savings account, let's say you have your 6 months of living expenses. Say you have $10,000, just make up a number. You got $10,000 in a savings account. And you wake up Monday morning and now you have $5,000 in your savings account. How'd that happen? That's what's going on. This is what we have to watch. The media will tell us left and right that, oh, the dollar's getting stronger, the dollar's getting stronger, the dollar's getting stronger. No, the dollar's not getting stronger. It's lost 98 point some odd percent of its purchasing power since, what is it, the Depression or whatever I think it is. Okay, the dollar's worthless. It's just, it's not as worthless as other currencies of the world. This is what I keep saying. Hard assets. That's what we need to own right now. Paying your bills, getting your house paid for, having gold and silver, having beans, bullets, and band-aids, all right, having food, having that money put somewhere. By no means am I saying put everything into that, because obviously the electric bill is not going to get paid with bullets or band-aids. You've still got to have some cash. But do whatever is prudent for you to protect your money, because, you know, a rising tide sinks all ships. Let's put it this way. As China and Japan keep going down and down and down, how long do you think before that starts trickling into Europe, before that starts trickling into the United States? You'll hear the pundits, the perma-bulls, okay, going, oh, this is great. Eventually the yuan will be worthless. The yen will be worthless. The euro will be worthless. The pound will be worthless. And everybody around the world will be using the dollar. Nah. You can't forget about that little thing called BRICS. Okay? And when you bring BRICS in, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the other countries that they've added to it, they're trying to come up with a alternative currency. And considering what's going on with all those countries buying up precious metals, right? China, like I just said, buying gold like crazy. Let's say they do introduce some sort of BRICS currency, and it's backed by gold, and they've got the gold to do it. How much do you think your dollars are worth then? Gee, the BRICS currency is backed by gold. The US dollar is backed by Joe's word, the full faith and credit of the US government, right? Please tell me, how much faith do you have in the US government at this point? How much credibility does the US government have at this point? We have worthless paper. Our paper isn't as worthless as the Chinese yuan, as the Japanese yen, but it's getting there. It's going to be a real bumpy ride. And I know for a lot of people, this is over their heads. I try to make it as simple as I can to explain. That's why I explain how things work. But all I can tell you is this. As your dollar keeps losing purchasing power, do something with it rather than stuff it all in a mattress. Have some, but do not be surprised if one day in the not so distant future you find out that what you had is now a lot more than what you currently have. Pinball out.